Greetings. This is James Derian calling in from Sydney, Australia. Peter's asked if I'd give a perspective from here, and thanks to competent leadership and a good healthcare system and people pulling together, we're coming out of the lockdown. And that's probably what I'm worried about most right now, is that we saw the images in the United States, and probably one of the most worrying ones were the demonstrations against the lockdown. And one in particular, the image of all those faces pressed up against the plate glass window of the Ohio State Legislature, and more than one person has commented, I think there was an article in the Washington Post, how this resembled so many zombie films. It was a moment of true dread. And I think the zombie films can teach us something I would think, because I made one, a documentary with Phil Guerra, Project Z, The Final Global Event, which looks at, among other global threats, the one of pandemics. And what is interesting is how they start, both the zombie films and these type of threats, with complacency and dread, panic, then fear and othering. And we're seeing that cycle now, and we have to break that cycle, or else the consequences, indeed the attempt at curing, can be worse than the disease. And we're seeing all kinds of metaphors here, the most predominant one being war, that this is a war. We heard it first of all from Macron, the president of France, and even the UN Secretary General, and now of course wanting to be the general in charge, commander-in-chief of this war, President Trump. And the problem with this is that, as Clausewitz and others have always said, that in wartime, first of all, the enemy always has a say, a vote. As Mike Tyson used to say, even the best plans go out the window when you get punched in the mouth. Well, the language here of the virus is very important. That the virus has a vote in this, and in this case, we're seeing, I think, a belated response because we're not listening. We're getting it wrong. We're caught up in old tropes, old metaphors. And indeed, if language is a virus, as William Burroughs said, a form of control and domination, we have to find a new language. Now, we have to find out what the language of the virus is. It's genetic, of course, and there's mathematics we have to learn in order to develop a vaccine. But it's also a case that the virus is talking to us, it's telling us something. And both in the zombie films and in this particular horror film we're stuck in, I think it's trying to tell us to wake up. It's the case that we see the best and worst of ourselves in zombie films. And if we respond as this is a war of all against all, we're doomed. If we respond as a way of breaking free of the old zero-sum conflicts and then putting into place all kinds of new mechanisms of surveillance and domination, then this will just be a temporary truce between the next pandemic and the next global threat. They are going to come, and they're going to be worse, as we all know. Climate change, inequality, all of these are coming home to roost, and this is our test. Are we going to rewrite the script? We're going to come out of the genre of the zombie film and wake up. This is our moment. Otherwise, the zombies are us.